Hi, I'm Matt and this is Not Enough Tech. How steady are your hands? Because mine are not so steady. All the footage that I do for Not Enough Tech usually involves a really good phone, which is a Xiaomi Mi 9. You can read the review in there. But I use also DJI Osmo Mobile to create a B-roll and to take on holidays to have a couple of really nice looking videos. Up until now, because now I have this, and this is Xiaomi Palm. This Xiaomi Palm has been sent to me by Banggood, so thanks guys for making this review happen, but I've been eyeing a similar device for some time. At first my option would be a DJI Pocket, but after Xiaomi released the Palm version, I've noticed the price difference and it made so much more sense to pay a little bit less for a stabilized camera. Now this is about £160, about $180 on Banggood right now, which is really inexpensive comparing to DJI Pocket. As you could see, I had insane amount of fun shooting content with this device. Now I really like it, but it doesn't mean it comes without any flaws. I'm gonna talk about the pros of it and the flaws as well, and how an X design could improve. I don't have the most stable hands, so having your video stabilized, it's a bliss. And obviously you can see the biggest advantage between those two being a size. Now bear in mind that I'm not going to discuss a video quality differences, because those are two different class of devices. This is a really good camera for shooting a video. However, I'm going to talk about differences in video stabilization. So what exactly £160 gets you? It gets you this, which is a whole product. You don't need a mobile phone to operate it. It has a screen, it has all the functions you can select, and you can operate it as is, which is hugely beneficial because, well, let's face it, if you're shooting video, it takes a lot of battery, and if you're in a remote location or on holidays, battery is a strong consideration, so having something portable, it's ideal. So let's talk about this physical size. Now this device comes with a screen which is a 1.22 inch in diameter, and the resolution is only 240 by 240, which isn't great, but it's just about to be enough to monitor your video footage, select different options and settings. The device connects via USB to wherever you want, and it supports SD cards to store your footage. Because the USB Type-C has an audio support, you can connect external microphones, and you can also charge up and power up the device while you're shooting your footage, which means theoretically you are only limited to the storage size and you can shoot the videos forever. The battery capacity gives you about 2 hours of shooting time, which was true as long as you don't use Wi-Fi connectivity, and the overall experience is super cool. To control the device, you have a couple of options. You have a joystick that you can use to control the gimbal, there is a record screen that also can flip the direction, and a fully fledged touchscreen with gesture controls. Coming from a device like this, I wanted to combat a couple of issues. First of all, it's the overall size. Despite this being small comparing to maybe DSLR gimbals, it is still quite bulky and takes a lot of space in your baggage, especially when you're traveling. Now the second problem was the size of actual device and air resistance. The phone acts like a sail, and it was very easy for a breeze to actually turn the phone on the side and ruin the footage in the progress. Lastly, I was always limited to being on this side of the gimbal, so it was hard for me to actually trigger a device and shoot something that would contain me on the picture. Yes, there is a selfie mode, but you're still limited to what you can do because you're always going to be at the arm's length. None of that is an issue when you're using Xiaomi Palm, because first of all you can take your phone away from the device. As long as you're within Wi-Fi range, you'll be able to stream the video, control it, and you can point it at wherever you want. Second of all, because the size of the gimbal, and even though the motors are much weaker than on the Osmo 2, I was still able to point the gimbal in the right direction and keep it steady even when I was traveling on a bicycle at 50 miles per hour, which is about 70 kilometers per hour, and that's quite impressive. To show you how much difference a good stabilization makes, I used 3 different video sources. I'm gonna be using in my showcases this $60 cheap action camera, obviously DJI Osmo Mobile 2, and the Xiaomi Palm, which is the subject of this review. Just bear in mind that the footage quality in terms of video will differ because at the end of the day you can't really compare a $160 gadget with 3 times as pricey mobile phone. I think we can all agree that the video is well stabilized and it looks really great. So what are all the benefits of using Xiaomi Palm? It has a built-in face tracking, so it will recognize the face and you can enable face tracking mode, which will follow your face. The feature is responsive and I really like it. Another great thing is that if you're going to use the adapter, you're going to split the USB Type-C into 2 ports, one for audio and one for charging, which means you can not only charge the device while you're shooting, but you can use external microphone. Note that the microphone built in within the gimbal, it's not actually that bad. And this is a test of the microphone, which is included in the gimbal, and for the most part is doing a pretty good job. It's just a shame that there is no speaker built in, so you can't really preview the audio signal using gimbal. You are not only limited to shooting videos, you can use slow motion in 4 times and 8 times slow motion modes, and there is options for panoramas, time lapses, hyperlapses, and just regular pictures. The gimbal comes with easy to navigate swipe actions, which will circle through different menus. Each shooting mode comes with additional settings for controlling even more refined options like Pro mode to control ISO and shutter speed, or just settings for shooting pictures, long exposure and night mode. The gimbal controls are split into 4 different modes. First person view, in which the gimbal will try to dampen your movement but will still follow your wrist in each direction. In a follow mode, you'll have your roll axis locked, but you'll still be able to go up and down using pitch controls. In a pitch lock, your roll and your pitch is going to be locked, but you will be able to go left and right, selecting the directions of the movement, and this is probably one of the options you're going to be using the most. And lastly, the gimbal lock, which will lock the gimbal in position regardless of how you're going to move your wrist. Okay, and lastly, I probably have to mention the app itself. And the FIMI app to control and connect remotely to Xiaomi Palm isn't anything special really. It has exactly the same subset of controls as you would find them on the gimbal itself, so it works like an extension of the gimbal or remote controller with a much bigger screen. I hope with time we're gonna see extra features added to it. I guess it's enough with the praise. Let's focus now on weak points. And first, it's gonna be a glaring issue of a resolution. This is not a native 4K. I've seen the 4K footage, and this is not how it's supposed to look like. In fact, the 1080p footage looks so much better, which leads me to believe that this is an upscale footage to 2K and 4K. Now, don't get me wrong, footage in 1080p at 60 frames per second looks really good, and it's enough for me. But if you are hoping to shoot amazing shots with 4K resolution, you'll be disappointed. Another letdown is what actually comes in the box. Literally, you're gonna get a gimbal, charging cable, and this flimsy cover. For that £160 you don't get anything else. There is no proper protection, and there is no carrying case or any extra accessories. Even dock that comes with a splitter cable for audio external microphone has to be purchased separately, and it's pretty expensive. That's slightly disappointing, but I guess they have to make the money somehow. Next up on the list of problems is the position for the 1/4 inch tripod adapter. It is put in the most awkward position, and none of my tripods actually were able to mount here without stopping gimbal from operating. I don't know why they've put it in here. It would have been so much better to put it at the bottom of the gimbal. So this is far from perfect. Thankfully, I have a couple of different mounts I can use with this now, and I can mount it to a gimbal without impeding its function. One of the things that I'm also disappointed about is the lack of tracking the objects. While you can track the face, you cannot just point this at the object and ask it to track like you could with DJI Osmo Mobile 2. Unfortunately, you'll be limited to tracking your face only. I hope this is something that could be implemented into a FIMI Play app and available in the future. There's also a couple of things that could improve in terms of the design of the menus. Some of the options are a little bit finicky, especially the Pro options for controlling ISO or shutter speed. The icons are placed in a corner, and sometimes they are quite finicky to tap. Lastly, I would like to say that this is not an action cam. You have to remember that while I have a lot of fun taking it cycling, it's unlikely it would survive any of the crashes. Now, it might survive a drop or two, but without the proper protection, I wouldn't take it mountain biking or something similar. I guess it's time for final thoughts. If you are not bothered by 4K and you are willing to spend a couple of extra dollars on some accessories, this is really great fun. Honestly, I had an immense amount of time using this in different scenarios, and I'll be using this for much more in the future. So it's $160 if you're interested. In the description of this video you're gonna find a link where you can purchase this. So for now, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you don't know already, I do not have a posting schedule, so following me on any given social media is the best way to keep in touch and to get a notification when something is out, because it's not always a video, and you probably know how to use YouTube. So with that said, I'll say my byes, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye. So I had this brilliant idea. I'm gonna test this chest rig in some action, and I didn't account for soil being a bit muddy and a bit of water there, and a really inappropriate choice of footwear. You can you can imagine what just happened, and that was before I set up all the cameras. Oh god.